At 3:14 a.m. in Pine Hollow, Oregon, the Ellery Ridge subdivision security camera caught a pickup rolling past the main gate with its license plate obscured by a dangling towel. 4 minutes later, a carbon monoxide alarm in a Craftsman on Sawtooth Court went offline, recorded as a device not responding. At 3:26, a neighbor's patio camera captured a faint hum rising and falling behind a closed garage door. At 3:41, a 911 call reported an unresponsive man and a semi-conscious woman inside the home. The caller identified himself as Lucas Hart, the family's close friend. He said he had smelled something off from the sidewalk during a night, run and checked their door. Responders forced entry at the front. The digital deadbolt was engaged and the alarm panel silenced. In the primary bedroom, 35-year-old Hannah Cole lay on the bed, breathing shallowly, pulse present. On the floor beside the bed, 36-year-old Mark Cole did not respond. A CO meter held by the first firefighter climbed past 400 parts per million in the hallway. The garage door, sealed from the inside with plastic sheeting taped along. All edges held back a low rumble. Inside the garage, a portable generator idled with a hose clipped to its exhaust and threaded under the interior door gap. Carbon monoxide filled the home. At 3:57, medics moved Hannah to the lawn and into an ambulance. At 4:03, they pronounced Mark. On the driveway, Lucas stood in running shoes and a reflective vest, hands on his knees, answering quick questions. He said he ran at night to clear his head. He cut across Sawtooth Court, and he saw a flicker in the Coles foyer light. He said he checked the door and smelled gas. He stayed on scene. The first facts pointed inward. A generator left. To run, alarms that should have screamed but didn't, and a friend already there. Pine Hollow sits where the foothills flatten into farms, 25 miles west of Portland. New homes line cul-de-sacs with native plant landscaping and motion lights on eaves. The Coles house stood on a corner lot with a cedar fence, a small garden plot, and a 2-car garage. Inside lived Mark and Hannah Cole and their 7-year-old son, Owen, who had spent the night at his grandparents'. From the street, the family fit the pattern. 2 incomes, weekend projects, a rotating set of delivery boxes on the porch. Mark ran a small fabrication shop that built custom metalwork for contractors. He kept a steady calendar and logged pickups, and drops in a spiral notebook by the door. Hannah worked as a speech therapist at an elementary school, kept volunteer commitments for a literacy program, and ran the neighborhood book swap. Their closest regular presence outside family was Lucas Hart, Mark's longtime friend from high school who lived 1 street over. Lucas worked as a maintenance supervisor for a property management company. He had a spare key to the Coles' house for plants and pets during trips. He used their garage tools occasionally and set up their smart thermostat when they moved in. From a distance, the arrangement looked ordinary. Up close, it provided access points, keys, codes, and familiarity that would later define the case. The evening before the incident ran an ordinary pattern. At 6:12 p.m., a grocery delivery dropped 2 bags at the Coles' porch. At 6:30, Mark's pickup rolled into the driveway and backed in. At 6:48, a takeout order arrived. The door camera recorded Hannah with a sweatshirt and slippers. At 8:05, Owen's overnight bag left in the trunk of Hannah's sedan for a planned drop at grandparents'. At 8:14, the sedan pulled away. At 8:32, it returned. The camera showed no passenger. At 9:02, the garage interior light clicked off. At 9:10, the thermostat adjusted down 2 degrees. At 9:17, the alarm panel armed "Stay." At 10:21 p.m., a maintenance alarm indicated CO detector battery low, rear hall. At 10:23, the alert cleared. At 11:47, the subdivision gate camera recorded a pickup with a towel over the plate entering behind another car. At 12:06 a.m., the camera saw the same pickup exit, then return at 12:49. At 1:08, A motion sensor in the Coles' side yard captured a brief silhouette near the fence. The log marked a compressed interval. In and out, then again, then back. Inside the house, the thermostat recorded a manual input at 1:37 a.m. The event log wrote "hold" to prevent the fan cycling. At 1:48, the CO detector in the kitchen went offline. At 2:11, the rear hall CO detector also went offline. The alarm system notifications went to a shared inbox that did not wake a tone at night by default. The devices had reported low battery weeks earlier. A replacement pack sat unopened in the pantry. At 2:52, a garage interior camera. 1 of 2 not connected to the cloud and writing to a local SD card Mark had installed, captured a figure stepping through the interior door, setting a plastic tote on the concrete, and pulling a roll of painter's tape from inside. The figure wore a hood and gloves. The camera's angle showed the elbow and a reflective stripe on a vest. The lens fogged, then cleared. A plastic sheet was unrolled and taped along the doorframe and threshold. A portable generator was set in the center of the garage, topped with a small fuel can. A length of heat-rated hose clipped to the exhaust and led to the interior door. Gap. The figure pressed tape all around the gap and added a towel along the bottom. The garage door remained down. At 3:03 a.m., the generator started. The hum rose and steadied. The figure waited 60 seconds, then reached up to the garage camera and wiped the lens with a sleeve. The cloth left a smear that did not hide the shape. The figure left through the side door. The door clicked closed. CO pooled under the door, seeped through gaps, and spread into the hallway. At 3:14, the neighborhood gate camera recorded the pickup again. Plate obscured, rolling out. At 3:26, a neighbor's patio camera picked up the low hum behind the Coles garage. At 3:41, a 911 call connected. The caller, Lucas, stated he smelled gas and saw the porch light flicker while running and had knocked. No response. He told. The dispatcher he tried the knob and found it locked. He did not try the garage door. He waited for responders. Firefighters opened the front with a Halligan. A plug-in CO meter screamed near the entry and then died. They moved down the hall, low. In the primary bedroom, Hannah lay on the bed with shallow breaths. Mark lay face down on the rug by the window. Firefighters moved them to the entry, and then, outside, medics administered oxygen to Hannah and loaded her into an ambulance. Marks on the interior garage door frame showed fresh tape lines. The door itself was sticky to the touch. The garage smelled of exhaust and adhesive. The immediate aftermath moved into protocol. Police separated Lucas and took a brief statement. He said he was on a night run and cut across his friend's block. He said he had a key but hadn't brought it. He kept his hands visible. He wore reflective gear. A faint adhesive mark flecked his sleeve near the cuff. He said he didn't know about any generator. A portable unit sat in the garage with the switch in the run position. The fuel can held a mix that smelled fresh. At 4:03, the medical examiner recorded Mark's time of death. At 4:12, officers taped the property line. At 4:22, a tow truck pulled up to move cars for access. The neighborhood security manager brought gate logs and video. The first list of anomalies tallied up quickly. CO detectors that had quit, an alarm panel that had not dialed out a loud alert, a garage sealed from the inside, a generator unfamiliar to the household, and a friend who called before anyone else woke to the hum next door. The house cooled in the morning air. The generator ticked as it settled. The plastic along the interior door fluttered when a cross breeze cut through. The entryway rug held. Shoe prints and track marks. The master bath sink held a damp cloth with a faint smear of soot. A single key hook by the door held 2 keys. A third, labeled "side," was missing. Detective Erin Patel led the case. She divided the scene into zones: garage, entry, bedroom, exterior, and digital systems. In the garage, she documented the generator's make, model, and hour meter. It showed 0.8 hours. The exhaust hose and clamp matched a common kit sold online. The painter's tape ran continuous across the interior door seams. The plastic sheet along the jamb adhered with fresh tack. The side door's strike plate showed recent scuffs. The overhead door had not moved. Its lock was engaged. The local SD card in the garage camera held a partial clip from 2:52 to 3:06 a.m., corrupted at the end. The figure's clothing showed a reflective vest stripe consistent with popular running gear. The gloves were nitrile, under a thin fabric. The sleeve that wiped the lens had a contrasting cuff. A secondary camera over the workbench recorded the same figure opening a plastic tote and removing a hose kit still in shrink wrap. The tote also contained a folded towel with a printed logo. Patel bagged the towel. In the entry, the alarm panel. Logs showed device offline for 2 CO detectors at 1:48 and 2:11 a.m. respectively. The CO alarm test history showed a hush at 10:23 p.m. and a maintenance entry 3 months prior by Admin 2. The panel's network settings listed a guest device accessing the system at 9:02 p.m. the previous evening and at 1:37 a.m. Patel traced the guest device MAC to a smartwatch model often paired with phones for notifications. In the bedroom, the window latch was locked. There were no signs of struggle. Mark's phone lay on the nightstand. He had set an alarm for 5:30 a.m. Hannah's phone sat on the dresser, plugged in. Oxygen levels recorded upon arrival were consistent with significant CO exposure during sleep. Outside, the subdivision gate footage indicated a pickup entering and exiting near the times the garage preparations occurred. The towel over the plate obscured digits but showed the corner of a vanity plate frame from a local hardware supplier. The camera captured the plate unblocked at 12:06 a.m. on the first exit. The partial matched the last 3 of Lucas's registered truck when compared against DMV records and the hardware store's promotional frames. The towel concealed it on the subsequent passes. Patel interviewed Lucas that morning. He repeated his account of a night run, a smell of gas, and a check-on. His friend's door. He said he used to keep a spare key but had returned it after the last trip. He said he knew how to use a generator but did not own one. He said his reflective vest explained any stripe in a blurry video. He agreed to provide clothing for testing. His sleeve bore a faint adhesive tack consistent with painter's tape. His running shoes carried trace drywall dust and a small chip of blue plastic. His left palm had a light gray residue that lifted under tape and tested positive for soot particles. A search warrant for Lucas's truck and home followed. In his garage, Patel's team found a plastic tote identical to the one in the Coles garage clip. Inside, a second exhaust hose kit in shrink wrap, a roll of painter's tape with a missing start, a bag of nitrile gloves, and a towel with the same printed logo as the one from the Coles workbench camera. The towel was part of a promo packet from the same hardware supplier noted on the vanity plate frame. In a utility drawer, officers found a spare key labeled "Side" on a brass tag, the same style tags the Coles used for their hooks. Lucas said he had forgotten to return it. On Lucas's workbench, a small CO detector test kit sat open. It included a calibration canister and a needle valve. The instructions lay beside it with a page flagged discussing sensor desensitization through contaminant exposure. In his closet, a reflective vest with a torn seam at the cuff matched the contrasting pattern seen in the garage camera wipe. In a bin, officers found a scrap of plastic that fit the missing chip in Lucas's running shoe tread. Digital warrants widened the scope. The Coles' Smart Thermostats admin roster included 2 emails. One belonged to Hannah. The second, Admin 2, pointed to a throwaway account created from an IP address associated with a property management office where Lucas worked. The thermostat log showed a hold set at 1:37 a.m., preventing the fan from triggering and recirculating air in a way that might have altered the CO's spread. The alarm panel showed a firmware update check at 9:02 p.m. The check aligned with a guest device entry. The neighborhood gate logs matched Lucas's truck RFID tag entries, except when the towel obscured the plate and the truck piggybacked the tail of another car. Between 11:47 p.m. and 3:14 a.m., the truck moved in and out 3 times. The HOA's perimeter cameras recorded a figure hopping the low fence at the back of the Kohl's lot at 1:08 a.m., landing near the side door. The figure carried a tote. The camera's infrared reflection caught a strip of reflective material at mid-torso. Patel traced the generator. A contractor 2 neighborhoods over reported a missing small generator from a job box 2 days earlier. The contractor had texted Lucas the week before asking about maintenance tips. Lucas had responded. The contractor's crew occasionally stored tools at a property Lucas supervised. The missing generator's serial number matched the one in the Kohl's garage. Medical findings aligned. The ME listed the cause of death as carbon monoxide poisoning. Hannah survived with oxygen therapy. No sedatives were present. The method relied on the environment, not chemicals. 3 weeks earlier, a minor incident had occurred at the Kohl's house. The garage door opener failed to engage one morning. Lucas had reset the opener and mentioned the need for a surge protector. That day, the alarm panel's log recorded an install by Admin 2. The panel allowed remote hush for nuisance alarms through the app. The CO detectors had registered low battery earlier in the month. A replacement pack sat unopened because the notifications routed to a shared inbox that no one checked nightly. Financial reviews added lines. A hardware store receipt in Lucas's. Trash-listed painter's tape, nitrile gloves, and a roll of plastic sheeting purchased the day before the incident. An online order sent to his P.O. box contained the exhaust hose kit. A credit card record tied him to the HOA's gate transponder refill kiosk at 11:40 p.m. Patel stepped through sequence, not motive. The friend had access and knowledge. A CO environment was created with a generator, tape, and plastic. The alarms were neutralized by offline status, earlier desensitization, and app control. Entry and exit occurred through a side route. The call came in as a concerned friend on a night run. The victim's child was away. The path led to 2 central names: the man found dead inside and the man who was first on scene, who had set up the house systems and held a spare key. The first twist came from an earlier scare. 6 months before, the Kohl's reported a gas smell and a chirping alarm. Lucas responded within minutes, according to texts, and fixed it. The alarm company log recorded a hush activated. From the app by Admin 2. The CO detectors went quiet for the night. No gas leak was found. The log showed a temporary hush converted to a permanent offline 2 days later for the rear hall unit, coinciding with Lucas's visit, to replace a battery. The detector's shell in the Kohl's house now contained a dummy insert. The working sensor, removed then, turned up in a box in Lucas's garage. The serial numbers matched. The alarm had been silenced months before with a swap, not a dead, battery. The second twist surfaced in a photo album. In Hannah's home office closet, investigators found a sealed decorative box with prints from Owen's birthday party. Wedged in the box's corner was a small cube camera. It faced the kitchen and recorded to microSD. The file list included clips from 2 nights earlier showing Lucas alone in the kitchen, retrieving a spare key from the hook, and taking a photo of a code list taped inside a cabinet door. He returned the key and left. Later that night, the D camera recorded him back again with a tote in hand, stepping into the garage for under a minute, then returning to the kitchen, then leaving through the side door. The clips were time-stamped and clear. The camera had been part of a party setup and forgotten afterward. It captured access that otherwise would have left no sign. The third twist involved a pool pump 2 summers earlier. A service call reported a tripped breaker, a tingling in the water, and a quick fix by Lucas. The pool contractor's service notes later found in storage indicated that a ground wire had been loosened and then retightened. No one was harmed. The pattern of arrive first, fix fast, be helpful repeated across minor malfunctions, including the thermostat, alarm panel, and garage opener. Each instance created points of access and familiarity with devices that would later be used to shape a lethal environment. The fourth twist tied to an off-site storage unit. Lucas rented a small unit near the highway. Inside, Patel found a plastic bin labeled Site Kits. It contained zippered pouches, each with a roll of tape, nitrile gloves, a throwaway towel, a small tool, and a printed list. Seal, route, hush, call. Another bin held leftover promotional items from the hardware store, including the same logo towel seen on Lucas's workbench and in the Coles garage clip. A folder labeled Accounts listed device emails and passwords for properties. Lucas managed, including references to generic admin names and recovery accounts. One entry read Admin to Coles. The fifth twist rotated around a previous relationship. Records from another county showed a protection order filed 5 years earlier by a co-worker, later dismissed when she moved. The petition described persistent, uninvited visits, fixation, and interference with home devices. The court file listed a name change for Lucas from Luca Hartman to Lucas Hart. The detail by itself did not prove conduct now. It established a prior pattern of boundary crossing via tools and systems. The sixth twist showed intent crystallizing weeks in advance. A traffic camera near a contractor's yard recorded Lucas loading a small generator into his truck bed 2 days before the Coles incident. The contractor had not reported it missing yet. A camera at a shipping kiosk recorded him receiving a small package matching the exhaust hose kit's dimensions. A store camera filmed him buying painter's tape and plastic. His smartwatch connected to the Coles network twice that evening, once near the garage at 9:02 p.m. for a firmware check and again at 1:37 a.m. for a thermostat hold. The seventh twist undercut his night run story. Data from his smartwatch showed a heart rate profile inconsistent with a sustained run. The steps recorded between 3:05 and 3:35 a.m. matched short, controlled movements, not a continuous jog, small bursts, stops, crouches, rises. His route history placed him circling the same 2 blocks 3 times, aligning with the HOA gate in and out times. His smelled gas call came after the generator had been running for over 20 minutes, long enough for CO to saturate the house. The eighth twist placed Hannah at the nexus of access. A recovery email for Admin 2, routed to a throwaway account, later traced to a phone number Lucas had used to sign up for a community gardening slot near Hannah's volunteer shift. The garden coordinator remembered him showing up when she was there and lingering. His truck appeared in 2 school drop-off camera frames during weeks when he did not have reason to be on that route. The secret crush was never spelled out in messages or declarations. It presented as persistent presence, convenience, and watchfulness that gave him information and access. The ninth twist came from the garage clip's towel. The printed logo on the towel matched the vanity frame on Lucas's plate. Fibers from the towel embedded in the painter's tape at the garage door seam matched the towel in Lucas's tote and the one in the Coles camera frame. The exhaust hose kit's box found on Lucas's shelf carried a distinctive warehouse nick identical to one visible in the clip at the Coles garage when the lid opened. The tote's scuff matched a scuff on the Coles workbench from 2 months prior when Lucas helped Mark hang shelves. The final twist removed ambiguity. The generator's recoil handle held a partial, latent print with 2 clear ridge endings. The match returned to Lucas. The handle's position likely minimized transfer, but the partial landed in the usable range. Combined with the cuff adhesive, the soot residue on his palm, the shoe tread chip match, the dummy CO sensor swap, the cube camera kitchen clips, and the admin log entries anchored to his devices, The case moved from suspicious to defined. The betrayal was not a moment of impulse at a threshold. It unfolded over months, device by device, setting by setting, access by access, until a sealed door, a running generator, and an offline alarm converged on a night when the child was away and the street was quiet. Arrest followed. Police took Lucas Hart into custody on charges of first-degree murder, attempted murder, burglary, tampering with safety equipment, theft of property, generator, and unauthorized access to a protected computer system. The district attorney filed a notice to introduce evidence of prior acts to show knowledge and method, limited by the court to device manipulation and alarm suppression rather than character. Lucas pled not guilty. A public information statement identified the victim, the surviving spouse, and the charges without commentary. Pretrial motions set boundaries. The defense moved to suppress the cube camera footage as an invasion of privacy. The court denied suppression, finding the device belonged to the homeowners, recorded their common area, and was lawfully obtained. The defense moved to exclude the earlier protection order records and the pool pump incident. The court allowed limited reference to demonstrate familiarity with home systems. The defense sought to sever the theft charge for the generator. The court kept it joined due to the direct connection to the method of death. The trial proceeded on sequence and construction. Fire rescue personnel testified to entry conditions, CO meter readings, the garage seal, and the generator still running. The medical examiner explained cause of death and survivability windows. A systems analyst walked the jury through the alarm panel's logs, the Admin 2 entries, and the CO detector's offline status. He correlated app hushes, firmware checks, and guest device connects with timestamps from the HOA gate and the thermostat. The HOA security manager brought gate logs and video of the towel-covered plate, the piggyback entries, and the partial plate match earlier in the night. A hardware store manager authenticated the painter's tape and plastic purchase. The contractor identified the generator and serial number. A latent print examiner matched Lucas's print to the generator's recoil handle and matched adhesive, smears, and towel fibers across items. The state introduced the SD card clips from the garage and kitchen cube camera. Jurors saw the hooded figure unroll plastic, tape seams, clip a hose, and wipe a lens with a reflective cuffed sleeve. They saw Lucas, alone in the kitchen days before, retrieve a key, photograph a code list, and step into the garage briefly. The thermostat logs anchored his device presence at 1:37 a.m. The smartwatch data undermined the night run narrative. The reflective vest with a torn cuff matched the wipe's contrasting cuff detail. The defense argued that the visuals were inconclusive, that the hoodie and gloves masked identity, and that contamination could explain adhesive and soot. They asserted that the CO detector swap months earlier could have been an innocent, mistaken battery replacement. They suggested another party could have used the spare key. They emphasized the absence of direct footage of Lucas's face in the garage at the exact moment the generator was started. The prosecution layered the evidence: the cube camera placing Lucas alone with the key and codes, the admin account created from his work IP, the hold on the thermostat at the time the generator ran, the gate entries with towel coverage matching his frame, the tote and kits in his garage, the generator's theft from a property he supervised, the recoil handle print, the shoe, tread chip match, the towel fiber transfer, the reflective cuff match, the alarm hush history controlled by admin, and the prior hush during a gas smell night when he fixed it and swapped a working sensor for a dummy shell. The sequence showed access, preparation, execution, and a staged discovery call. Jurors deliberated over 2 days. They requested to rewatch the garage clip and the kitchen cube footage. They asked for a readback of the alarm panel log explanation and the thermostat hold function. They asked whether the CO detector shell swap could be performed without specialized tools. The court confirmed the process required only a twist and a tab. The verdict returned guilty on first-degree murder, guilty on attempted murder, guilty on burglary, guilty on tampering with safety equipment, guilty on theft, and guilty on unauthorized system access. Sentencing imposed life imprisonment with the possibility of parole after 40 years for murder, a consecutive 20 years for attempted murder, and concurrent terms for the remaining counts. A no-contact order protected Hannah and her child. Restitution covered the generator and property damage. The court addressed the community by noting the reliance on technology in households and the risks when access is extended without audit. INI, Pine Hollow, the HOA updated protocols, mandatory device audits for smart systems, CO detector inspections with serial tracking, and gate camera upgrades. Neighbors moved spare keys to audit-logged lockboxes. The Coles home was cleaned, painted, and fitted with hardwired detectors. Hannah recovered slowly and moved to a rental near her parents. The garage's plastic sheeting and the tape seams became part of an exhibit list in a box labeled People the Heart. The case closed on access and sequence. A portable generator did not wander into a sealed garage by accident. Painter's tape did not climb a door seam on its own. CO detectors did not all decide to go silent on the same night after months of normal operation. A thermostat did not hold a setting at 1:37 a.m. without a hand on an account. A friend did not appear at the exact right time to smell gas without being nearby for other reasons. Investigators used logs, fibers, prints, and forgotten camera angles to track a slow build, a swapped detector shell months earlier, a hush from an admin account that should not have existed, a spare key taken and kept, a stolen generator, a shopping list of tape and plastic, a towel that connected scenes, and a plotted route through a neighborhood gate with a covered plate. The betrayal was not declared. It was constructed through ordinary tasks labeled as help: fix a chirp, reset a panel, set up a thermostat, grab a package, check a door. The trial formed these actions into a record: guilty on murder, attempted murder, burglary, tampering, theft, and system access. Sentences entered. The family moved under protection. The neighborhood changed routines. The garage door rolled up again for repairs, then came down quietly. Consider the triggers that turned suspicion into certainty. A cube camera left from a child's party, a towel logo embedded in tape, a recoil handle ridge pattern, a smartwatches, short step bursts, a detector shell found far from the home where it belonged, an admin account that matched a name not on the lease, a gate that logged a piggyback entry, and a reflective cuff caught by a lens that was supposed to be blind. In Pine Hollow, a friend's crush stayed unspoken. The access spoke for him.